very excited about the increasing deal flow out of UCLA and the new companies that are being born. And we're going to present two today, working in the area of aesthetic medicines. And we start with Skinomics and Dr. Amy Taylor.
We're a company that produces technology-driven and personalized skincare from the microbiome to the human being. We're currently focused on the acne market, and the reason being acne affects about 85% of teens and young adults globally, so it's a big market. But there's really been lack of innovation in the acne market. 1980, Accutane was introduced, was the last major milestone in terms of big breakthroughs. And since then, it's been dominated mainly by generics and expired patents. And there's really minimal personalization. We do some personalization with acne treatment, but a lot of times people come in failing topicals to the derm clinic, and then after that we try topicals and oral antibiotics. They fail that, we go to Accutane. There's some variability, but essentially we're still treating just the disease and not the individual. And then depending on what paper you cite, there's an increasing antibiotic resistance across bacteria and all diseases, but especially acne as well, depending on which papers you quote, anywhere between 55 to 75% resistance. And there's a lot of common side effects still to the acne therapies. Topical side effects include redness, dryness, and peeling, which limits patient compliance. And then in terms of antibiotics, there's nausea and vomiting, which are pretty common with the tetracycline antibiotics, as well as photosensitivity. And then Accutane, which is a great drug and probably the only one that has long-term real cure treatment, has a lot of medical legal issues around it, teratogenicity, suicidal ideation potentially, and increased inflammatory bowel disease potentially. So it's becoming less and less of a treatment of choice for dermatologists. So what we're trying to do with this company is overcoming these challenges by trying to develop novel treatment regimens, really tailor the treatment to the individual instead of the disease, preventing resistance and minimizing the irritation that's associated with these common acne therapies, and developing a different maintenance strategy and long-term goals of novel drug targets. So how are we addressing these limitations? We have a technology around a couple different areas, one of which is a skin profiling and diagnostic tool where we can profile the skin microbiome with next-gen sequencing qPCR. And this is patent pending. And we have data here that's been published where there's certain Propionibacterium acnes, that's the bacteria associated with acne, profiles that are highly associated with not only acne but also antibiotic resistance. And then there's also non-pathogenic strains associated with healthy skin. So this is really the first step to personalization. People can come into the office and they can have themselves stratified into more pathogenic antibiotic resistance profile or healthy skin, and then you can tailor the treatment accordingly. We also have a treatment. There's in vitro data here where we show enhanced antimicrobial activity with a combination resveratrol, which is a very potent antioxidant, and benzoyl peroxide, which is a very potent oxidant. So somewhat counterintuitive, but you can see out to 10 days, essentially, there is no regrowth of bacteria. So we have a patent pending on this as well, currently in prosecution. And what's great about benzoyl peroxide is that there's no resistance to benzoyl peroxide, but it's still an irritating therapy. So the hopeful benefit of this combination is that we can decrease the effective dose and with the supportive action of the antioxidants. So based on that initial next-gen sequencing, there's unhealthy bacteria and there's healthy bacteria. So we've taken advantage of this and developed a probiotic using the healthy skin bacteria. And this also has a patent around it. And this will really be the first topical probiotic that includes skin bacteria. The majority of the others that are out there include gut bacteria and essentially don't have therapeutic claims around them. So this is something we hope can outcompete pathogenic bacteria and then hopefully develop a long-term, very tolerable maintenance treatment. So why are we going into the acne market? It's a big market globally, $4.5 billion by 2018 projected, and then in terms of the prescription market, close to $2 billion. So still, like I mentioned before, over-the-counters are dominated by generics, benzoyl peroxide, sal acids, and even prescription benzoyl peroxide, retinoids, and antibiotics. But there are currently no probiotic-based therapeutics or maintenance. So even a modest penetration into this can still mean large revenues, and we have high hopes. So we've obtained a letter of intent for these technologies, and importantly, the inventors of these technologies, myself and Huiying Li, are also the founders of this company. So in terms of how we plan to develop these technologies for the skin profiling diagnostic, we're planning on developing this as a lab-developed test where we produce, manufacture, and sell this in a single laboratory. So we need to either develop a CLIA lab or have a CLIA lab partnership. And what's great about this strategy is that we don't need pre-market application or approval. And we already actually have a partnership right now to use our diagnostic for another company that's doing a clinical trial on acne, and they'll be using our diagnostic to monitor treatment and bacteria throughout the trial. In terms of the resveratrol benzoyl peroxide, we also have a patent on this. We're going to pursue prescription therapeutic claims for this and do a small proof of concept trial. And the probiotic, we can initially go to the market with no claims, but eventually through the proof of concept clinical trial, we are going to pursue therapeutic and prescription claims as well. So in terms of competition, there are some other bacterial profiling companies out there. Ubiome is one. They do next-gen sequencing, but mainly on the genus level and predominantly for gut, not for skin specific. And Proderm IQ, which is currently in beta testing, which also does next-gen sequencing. There are a lot of benzoyl peroxide products, as I mentioned before. Proactive's the major player over the counter, and there's some other ones prescription-wise. But again, there is limited patient compliance due to long-term irritation for using these daily. And for probiotics, here's a list of them that exist, but they mainly use, like I mentioned, gut bacteria, and none have therapeutic claims. So we're currently in the investment round right now. We're raising funds. And what we're focusing on during the initial round of funding is the clinical trial. We really think this is the best way to establish validity for our technology, as well as develop utility for our diagnostic. And really, a small amount of capital is needed for acne trials. We don't need very many patients, don't need to have a very lengthy trial, about 6 months, less than 100 patients. And large-scale success or failure will be determined quickly through this. And we also are in negotiations with another company right now for cost sharing for this clinical trial. We've built a great team, myself here at UCLA, and Huiying Li, who unfortunately is in Europe right now at a conference. She's assistant professor for molecular and medical pharmacology at UCLA and is the inventor of the diagnostic and probiotic technologies. And we have a great advisory board. Bill James is the former president of the American Academy of Dermatology, has published in the New England Journal on acne. And Sam Kulkarni from McKinsey in terms of business development, and Lynn Baranowski, who currently works at Melinta for future marketing development. And then Clive Taylor, who's served on many FDA advisory boards for diagnostics and has been in biotech consulting for many years. So what are we doing now? What have we accomplished? Like I mentioned before, we have a strategic partnership with Sienna Labs, and then we're working on new drug discoveries to target specifically to pathogenic bacteria, second-generation probiotics, and then really make the diagnostic point of service so patients can actually purchase it easily. And then for the diagnostic, importantly, not just for the patient, but also for new drug discovery, this will serve as a database for really important, valuable data. And then we can expand to other skin disorders, other skin issues such as eczema, rosacea, seborrheic dermatitis, and psoriasis also have a microbial component, and we're working on these in the pipeline as well. And eventually, they always say put exit strategy in here, so maybe we'll go public or get acquired. We shall see. And that's it.
Thank you very much.